3 o'clock on this Monday afternoon. Welcome aboard the Postgame Show alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Appreciate you being with us. We got a lot to get to as we discuss South Carolina's very difficult, disappointing, heart-wrenching loss at Alabama, but maybe a surprise for some as you look ahead to this weekend's game in Norman. Heck of a weekend across the Southeastern Conference. Heck of a weekend in college football. Two big, let me say it this way so I can get it right, two big Big Ten games out on the West Coast. Ended in thrilling fashion. We got a lot of shakeup in the top 25. Speaking of top 25s, men's basketball top 25 is out. I'll go ahead and be a spoiler alert guy. Gamecocks are not ranked. I was surprised even, and we'll talk about it later, South Carolina didn't even get a vote in the AP men's basketball poll. I was a little surprised.
Really?
A little.
I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I say a little.
A little. You're a smidge.
I thought somebody maybe in this part of the world, not necessarily saying like a Gamecock beat writer, just somebody around these parts might have said, yeah. I mean, High Point got one. So,
Oh, that's odd.
It could be.
I mean, High Point was good, but I wouldn't have given him I wouldn't have given him top 25.
But I'm not going to dwell on that. And honestly, I don't really care because in the grand scheme of life, what you need to do in sports is go out and play games and win them. And then everything begins to line up accordingly. Let me go ahead and throw the phone number out before we get started, 803-404-6100. I absolutely want to hear from you guys, whether it's on the phone lines or the Firehouse Subs text line. You can hit us on Twitter as well, at jphillips1075, at 1075 the game, at @E_Campbell3. Any way you'd like to reach us, we will be interacting with you all day. After a brutal loss here in Columbia, I thought that South Carolina came out and played much better. And then they lost. I do think we saw growth on the offensive side of the ball. We continue to see a defense that is going to do everything it can to keep this team in games the rest of the way. We also saw some things that continue to make you just want to bang your head against the wall. Lenore Sellers holds on to the ball too long. Lenore is sailing the two-point try late, into the seats when he's got somebody wide open. Perfect play call, in my opinion, anyway. But we also saw Lenoris, and Oscar with a really nice little shovel pass to keep a drive going. He put that ball for Nick Harbor's TD where basically only Nick could go get it, and Nick made a hell of a play. We see the good with the bad of a quarterback who has played 4.5 games. And 2.5 of those games are against two top 10 teams and a team at the time when they lost that was also in the top 10. Not an excuse. It's a reality. You can look at it however you want as a fan. And I just mentioned to Terry, I know in immediate post-game reaction, when I throw something out, win or lose, I'm going to typically hear from the most vocal faction of the Gamecock fan base. And after a loss, it's going to be an angry faction of the fan base. So I am not painting with a broad brush. But there's a lot of you who just were like it's all Carolina's fault. And that's it. And they didn't get any better, and they're not getting any better, and they're only getting worse. And I'm not here for. I don't buy into that. If you do, cool. But saying you were competitive in this game, and you were, is not the same as claiming some type of moral victory, whatever a moral victory really is. I think that term, quite honestly, is thrown around more by people who don't want to accept a loss, rather than those who are complimentary of it. Two things can be true. You can have played a better football game than you had previously, and you can still lose. And South Carolina did. They played better than they did against Mississippi. They played about the same in a relative sense that they played against LSU. And you had your opportunities. You're gutted because you know how close you were. I get it, man. Offense hit some big plays this weekend. That's a positive. The offense shot itself in the foot a couple of times. That's a negative. And when they finally figure out that second part and don't have it apply to the first, this team's going to start to turn it around. Is that a bigger ask for the rest of the way? I don't know yet. I don't know. This team is absolutely disjointed. How's that? And that's not meant to be a full-on 100% criticism of the team. But when you look at it, you got to be realistic about where they are in their growth arc offensively. It's a freshman quarterback with a freshman left tackle. The top 3 tailbacks behind him all just transferred in. Pretty much every single receiver he's throwing to transferred in. Some of you will say, well, that's just a lame excuse. Okay, if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. I'm not here to change your mind. I don't see it as a lame excuse. I see it as a reason why there are still so many struggles. And I see an offensive coordinator / quarterbacks coach that is doing all he can to try to put this offense into the right position to succeed based on who they are in the moment. And at times, that's working really well. And at times, it could be better. And on a third level, and maybe fourth, there are times when that young quarterback, and listen, you most often in this sport, as any of you know, you are in a lot of ways what your quarterback is. It's just that's why they call it the most important position in like North American sport. And it just is. It has so much importance. Lenoris has a lot of skills. But when he holds on to the ball too long, when he doesn't secure the football, and my goodness, how many times have we seen him fumble the football this season? You just can't do it. You got to treat it like gold. And defenses know they can come after him. They know he wants to make a play. And he's not playing high school football anymore, and he knows that. But there's just been so many times in Lenoris Seller's life where he's just been able to make the play because he's bigger, stronger, faster, and better than you. And that is no longer the case. And I told Elijah I was flirting with this line. I'm going to because I'm a big Star Wars fan. Yoda's training Luke. You must unlearn what you have learned. There's a lot about Lenoris's game that is fantastic, but there are a lot of things that Lenoris will no longer be able to do, at least in the relative way he did them in high school, period. You're just not going to do it at this level of football. And he is learning that. He is being taught that. He is being coached. But he's got to put it all together. Missing the Akron game and the week of practice that led up to it, I'm not going to sit here and go, boy, that's like a whole year's worth of time. It's not. But how crucial would it have been in this offense right now, and just so many things. It's just it threw the timing off again. And that's an unfortunate situation. But again, he's played 4.5 games. I'm not counting last year's stuff. Not. I'm talking now as the guy. 4.5 games. A half against LSU and full games against Mississippi and Alabama included. Be encouraged by their effort while understanding, admitting, accepting that a lot still needs to get fixed. And if it doesn't, then it will not be a good season again, and there are bigger questions to ask in November and December. You're 3-3 after 6. Most that observe will look and say, yeah, that's about right. That doesn't mean accept it. Doesn't mean it's cool. Doesn't mean okay. But if you take a step back, ask yourself, before any ball was ever kicked against Old Dominion, what did you think Carolina would be after 6 games this year? And be honest with yourself. If you thought they'd be 6-0, God bless you. If you thought they'd be 5-1, God bless you.
I love your optimism.
4-2 was more doable because you had LSU and Mississippi at home. And you probably thought you could go to Lexington and win, and you did. And that you could get one of those two in Columbia. Right? But you didn't. And it sucks that you didn't, but you didn't. But regardless of the results, the chance this weekend in Norman with a down OU team that is doubting itself is really big for South Carolina, because no matter what, going into that ballpark and coming away with a win would be huge for Gamecock football. but you've got to go put a more complete game together. If you keep doing 50% good and 50% bad, you're a 50% team. And so far, kids, they're 3-3. That's where it is right now.
It is. And with this game, too, and we're going to talk about expectations for the full season. I think you did a good job breaking that down. But let's just go back last week, where we sat in these chairs last week after your offense was a complete and utter no-show against Ole Miss, and you shot yourself in the foot twice in the first quarter to the point where your defense, as superhuman as they played at times, could not save you. We sat in these chairs, and we're looking at the Alabama game thinking, oh, my God, they just came off of a fluky loss to Vanderbilt. What's going to happen on Saturday may be inhumane enough to violate some FCC laws, right? I mean, a lot of people were thinking that, and a lot of people that know this sport well were thinking that. The expectation was that Alabama was going to run you out of the building, and I think that was the majority level of expectation for even people in this fan base that are fans of the team, watch every game, follow along and cover them, right? Because you haven't shown that consistency and you regress to the point of futility on offense. I wrote down a few things here about what we complained about last week offensively. Play calling creativity, quarterback play, offensive line, wide receivers getting separation, ball security. 5 things right there that were completely unacceptable for after that Ole Miss game. I think you improved on 4 or 5 of those things. Going into the game on Saturday, Jay Phillips, do you think anybody would expect for you to get significantly better on 4 or 5 of those things?
No, not significantly. No.
But you were good enough on 4 or 5 of those things to win the game.
Right.
If you're better at ball security, you win that football game. I think the Lenora Sellers fumble in the 4th quarter, when you had a chance after the O'Donnell forced interception,
when they traded turnovers,
when you have a chance to continue milking clock, and limiting the possessions of this game, realistically speaking, because you just came off of a drive where you ran 16 plays for 85 yards and milked 8.5 minutes of game time off the clock. That should have been the key drive there that defined the game. And with Alabama turning the ball over on the next possession, you have a chance to methodically, at worst, move the chains 2 or 3 times, milk another 4.5 minutes off the clock, leave with at least 3 points, make Alabama have to score a touchdown with half a quarter left to play. Mm-hmm. Make it a multi-possession game. I mean, if you score a touchdown, it's potentially a multi-possession game at that point with half a quarter left. And you proved that you could do it because you were running the ball really well. You actually ran the ball on a per carry basis, a yard better per carry than Alabama did with sack adjusted, right? You were throwing the ball a whole lot better on underneath routes. Because, look, from 0 to 9 yards, Lenore Sellers was incredibly efficient. Receivers were getting open. Receivers were blocking better. Your offensive line, while still not going to win a Joe Moore Award anytime soon, proved they could at least block well enough at times to give Lenore Sellers a clean pocket and be able to move the ball. He had 20 dropbacks of clean pockets. Right. 20.
And was like
20.
Yeah, Will Helms put a stat out about those clean pockets, and it was like he completed 17 of them.
17 and 19 on those passes. One, there was no attempt.
Right.
17 of 19 on clean pockets. The play that he fumbled the ball was a simple zone read option, where all he has to do is pull the ball out of Rocket Sanders' belly and carry it, because what he was doing really well throughout that entire game was making the decision to keep or give. And he was, in terms of the read option game, that was one of the best. That might be the best Lenore Sellers game you had. But losing that fumble right there did a ton of damage in terms of how you viewed the rest of the game and how you had to address the rest of the game. And that's what hurts. Missing the 2-point conversion pass in the end zone where you had Dre Jacobs going into the corner. The pass was there. The throw just wasn't made. That hurts. And I totally understand how that hurts. And I've been watching that play a ton to the point of being like, damn, you make a good throw right there, you're taking this game to overtime. But at the same time, if we're projecting moving forward and trying to talk about what we learned about this team and this offense, there are 5 major holes in the offense, major issues, and you showed that you improved on 4 of them. So I think looking at this thing glass half full would be very reasonable.
You've heard from us. Let's hear from you. 803-404-6100. Calls, texts, tweets. It's the Monday Reaction Postgame Show. Business owners, especially small and medium business owners in a crowded market, how are you promoting yourself? How are you getting word out to potential customers that you're there, who you are, whether it's driving around town, when your workers are out in the community, or when people come to see you? Well, let the folks at Minuteman Press help you take the next several steps, not just next step, but several steps to promote your business. They're in the old Apex Graphics building, just a block from where we sit right here in downtown Columbia on Gervais Street. Many of the same staff that work at Apex is still around at Minuteman. More than 60 years of combined experience in this area, so they know what's up. But with the national scope, Minuteman has more than 300,000 items that they can get you to promote your business. Check them out, Minuteman.com. Punch in the Columbia location and see what local owners Ken and Anna Holloway can do to make sure your business is promoted. Check them out. That's Minuteman Press. Man, needed this bump Saturday night. I mean, you had 4 games at once Saturday night that were one-score fourth-quarter games.
Made you feel like this, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The vibes were good. And I said this to Terry and Tyler, and I'm getting ready to get into phone calls. Listen, I again, feel how you want to feel. I'm not asking you to agree with me on any take I ever give. I've been a talk show host for almost 23 years. But like I said, I had who seems like a nice guy, but I had a guy that seems like a nice guy say to me on Twitter that I should be infuriated by Carolina losing to LSU and Alabama the way they did. Infuriated. And I'm just going to say, nah, brother. I don't get infuriated over sports. I just don't. I love sports. I'm a sports fan. I am in my job because of how much I love sports. And yes, there are absolutely times when it drives me up the bleeping wall. But I get infuriated by things like crime and cancer and poverty and stuff in life that's infuriating, right? I'm not going to get infuriated by a team losing a game. If you want me to, I get it, but I'm not. I'm disappointed. Trust me.
Which, and you're a parent, being disappointed is worse than being mad.
Yeah, right. But you should be infuriated. I'm like, no, dude, no. Sorry. Just that's not me. And I wouldn't want it to be anybody. Don't get infuriated by sports. Sports? Come on. Playoffs? So that's all. Just a friendly piece of advice. Be disappointed. But I'm not here for fury. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't got much fury in me.
Yeah, just not who I am.
I'm a lover, not a fighter, man.
There you go. Let's see if Alec is a lover, not a fighter. Alec, you're going to bat leadoff today. How you doing, buddy? Welcome in.
Hey, I'm good. I'm a first-time caller, long-time listener. So I'm not on the train of wanting to bench Lenore Sellers or anything like that. Especially if you look at the stat lines at the game, he, except for those fumbles, he outperformed Jalen Milroe, who's obviously, a Heisman contender, known across the entire nation as, the guy over there at Alabama. Lenore is a young quarterback. I'm just going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Obviously, he made some plays that, I'm sure he wants to take back. But I'm not going to knock him for it that, if you think about it, most of these guys on the team, Alabama football has been a monolith their entire life up until last Saturday when they lost to Vanderbilt. And so I could see myself as an 18-year-old kid walking into Bryant-Denny Stadium, trying to pull off the miracle and, getting a little flustered at times. But overall, I thought the offense played really well. I think our offensive line issues from last season seem to have been taken care of. It's still not where I would like to see it. I really love to be able to see us get Rocket Sanders way more involved in the run game. To me, he's our best offensive weapon, and I would just love to see us just give him a game where he's got, puts 30 carries on his shoulder, and that'll free us up. I've been really impressed with Mazio Bennett. He's really clutch. That touchdown pass, Sellers threw to him. I think right before, can't remember when it was, but it was I think it was like a 4th and 10. And he hit him on a string right there in the end zone. That was,
it's a beauty.
I love seeing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, and just, and our defense, our defense is absolutely phenomenal. I remember before the season, Nick Emanwari, I think he made some kind of statement saying he thought the defense this year was going to be historical. And I was a little skeptical at first, but from what I've seen, I absolutely believe him. Dylan Stewart is a freak. I mean, literally every single replay I saw, he was getting held by at least one guy, if not two, and still getting through the line anyways. I hate to see us lose like that, but Saturday, honestly, and, we've had a lot of exciting games. The LSU game was really exciting, but, as a fan, a lifelong fan, that was the most exciting and most fun game I've watched in a really long time. And, I hate that the outcome was the way it was, but it just feels nice having fun, the week before against Ole Miss, turning the game off at halftime,
Right.
I'd love to get back to a point where I'm not turning the game off at halftime anymore.
Well, and that's what that's what Coach Beamer wants you to do too. Alec, thanks for the phone call. Glad you called. Thank you, and don't be a stranger. Call us anytime. Appreciate you listening too. Listen, that's just it. That's sort of my biggest thing is considering where you were 9 days ago to where you are now. I know it's 2 losses in a row. I get it. I'm not naive, and I'm not blind to the fact that you lost both games. I ask often, and I've said this to you, how did you lose? That's the number one question I have when a team loses. How did you lose? And this past weekend, yeah, you can still absolutely point to some self-inflicted things that if they aren't there and everything else is equal, you win the football game. And I do throw in the caveat, if everything else is equal. Somebody hit me on Twitter with that. If we have competent quarterback play, I think the tweet said, South Carolina wins. I agree, if everything else is equal. But remember, if you adjust things here or there, the team adjusts that you're playing, adjusts to what you did. So, who knows? You want to be competitive. And against Louisiana State, top 10, against Alabama, top 10, this team was very, very competitive. And when you look at who they have on offense and how it's been constructed, I do think there are positives there despite losing. Again, that doesn't make it a moral victory, which, a term I just don't ever use or like. But, Alec, to your point, man, this is what happens when you're building around something for the long term and it's early. You're going to have the growing pains. That's a real thing. You don't just get to snap and flip a switch and suddenly, boom, you're off and running as a high-powered, high-octane SEC offense. There's, as I said in my opening monologue, this team at times is disjointed. It's not meant to be a criticism. It's meant to be an observation. And it is, but it is trying to come together. Again, if y'all listen to me a lot, 2 words I've used from before any ball was kicked: cohesion and confidence. Cohesion and confidence. If you become more cohesive, you will become more confident. Until that happens, you're going to have these struggles. And again, you're going, take it however you want, y'all, but look at who you're losing to. LSU is still very much in the hunt for a national championship. Alabama has beaten Georgia, found a way to lose to Vanderbilt, found a way to beat South Carolina, and now they got to find a way to go beat Tennessee, who, by the way, just got pushed to overtime by what we all think is a pretty lousy Florida team. It happens. But, yeah, Alec, to your point, man, Lenoris is going to struggle at times, and he's going to improve at the same time. And ultimately, as I said, if you're making 50% mistakes and 50% successes, you're going to be a 50% team. And you might be able to look at it and say, well, that's why you're 3-3. And that's just where things are. Doesn't mean you like it. Doesn't mean you're satisfied. Doesn't mean you're content. And no one over there is. No one. Zero persons that are employed or play for South Carolina's football team are content or satisfied with where they are. None of them. None of them. Thanks for the phone call. I got a bunch of you lined up. By the way, can I say this real quick? Because I don't want to make it too much of a thing. But I'm so glad they wore those helmets again. All right? I just want to say that. It was a really good look on Saturday. I know they lost, but I did want to get that out there. I love that helmet. 803-404-6100. More of your calls and texts as the postgame show continues. You know, too often guys don't go to the doctor when they are feeling a little bit off, whether it's because they think they tough it out, they don't want to talk to anybody about what they're feeling or not feeling, they just want to be a guy. Well, don't be that guy. Get to feeling better after you see Dr. Dan Balknight and his team at the men's clinic. Brain fog is a thing. Just feeling off physically as you get older is a thing. It's real. It happens. It's natural. But when you get to see Dan and his team at the men's clinic, they're experts in healthcare for men, and they are dedicated to making you feel like yourself again. No such thing as a one-size-fits-all treatment at the men's clinic. They've been doing this for years. They have helped all kinds of your friends and neighbors feel better, and they're ready to help you too. So set up that initial consultation, 803-875-MENS, and learn more about what's going on over there at themensclinicsc.com. Talking Carolina's 27-25 loss at Alabama. South Carolina drops to 3-3 on the season, 1-3 in conference play, and 3 seems to be the magic number there. Yeah, a little De La Soul, a little Schoolhouse Rock, all thrown into one.
Very nice.
Carolina opened as a 3-point underdog at Oklahoma. That surprised me just a little bit. I told Elijah this morning when we were talking before the show, in my head, I don't know why. I'm not a bookmaker, so I don't always know. Sometimes I get really close, and sometimes I don't.
I love to guess.
I thought it would be about 8. I don't really have. If you said, why did you think that? I don't know. I just thought it would be around 8. Just a little more than a touchdown is what I thought. They would set the number, just around 8. But I was wrong. They set it at 3, and it is now 2.5.
I was going to say that might end up being a push because My brother in Christ, I've watched about the equivalent of 2 full Oklahoma football games, and that's too many. They are not very good offensively.
Offensively, they're not. And
it's bad.
I like Carolina being able to maybe pin their ears back and go after them defensively in a way we haven't even seen in terms of what Carolina can do on defense, which I think is play some really good defensive football. 803-404-6100. Let's get back on the phone lines. Marcus is up next. Hey, Marcus, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How you guys doing?
I'm doing well.
Great.
Hope you are.
I'm a season ticket holder for Clemson for 24 years, but I listen to you all every day. I usually listen to the Roar on my phone or when I'm up in that area, McCormick, Abbeville, or Greenwood, I listen to the Roar. But anyway, the comment on Carolina, I'm not a Carolina fan, and the guys, they're getting there. They are getting there. I was pulling for them Saturday against Alabama, and you just made the comment that they're the 3-point underdog this week with Oklahoma. Well, if they go with that mentality that they had this past weekend with Alabama, if they go into Norman Saturday with that same mentality, I think they can come out with a victory, because the LSU game they should have won. Ole Miss, I didn't really see that one, but the way the score looked like they didn't even have a chance. But it seems like Brian Kelly got a 4-leaf clover in his pocket from Notre Dame still. But, the quarterback you all got, I can't call his name because
Lenora Sellers.
But anyway, okay, Lenora Sellers. Anyway, he's kind of playing like Cade played when he came to Clemson, Cade, I had Cade on a pedestal. When I saw Cade in high school on film, I'm like, we got another Trevor Lawrence, man. This guy 5-star. But Cade come in there and, he is playing his game now. The Georgia loss, I said, was a good loss that really got us together now. And I had already commented on TigerNet and Facebook that I posted. I said that that one loss did us good, and we got on the table with our schedule. The only game I think we might lose will be Pittsburgh, and you all coming up there at the end of the month of November. And if South Carolina keep playing the way they're playing, we might have another loss right there, because y'all got a good defense.
Well, they did. The Gamecocks do. Yeah. And Marcus, thank you for the phone call, buddy. I think, you look at where Carolina is, as I say, when you have a freshman quarterback, a freshman left tackle, a whole bunch of guys that he's not played with. A couple of the bigger names in your receiving core didn't get to campus until this summer. Nicholas Harbor obviously has a bright future in track and should be spending his springs on the South Carolina track team and should have spent a portion of his summer with the United States national team. That's fantastic for him, and so there are zero complaints there. But you have to look at the reality of the football development part of the equation, and it's not there. Again, however major or minor you want to look at it and measure it as, Lenoris getting hurt against LSU, missing the second half of that game, was huge because he was playing well. Then to not be able to practice ahead of the Akron game and really continue to heal up during the off week, all those things matter. How much? I'm not really sure. And I'm not here to say, hey, it's all forgivable. Hey, it's all excusable. Hey, it's no big deal. I'm not saying any of those things. I'm giving you fact. These things happened. It's not an opinion that he got hurt. It's not an opinion that he missed time. It's not an opinion that a lot of the moving parts on the offense are still trying to come together because they're all new, basically, at least in this calendar year. And yet you still had opportunities. So for those who are so critical of certain things, I'm like, I'm not there with you. If that's where you want to live, if you want to blame coaching, if you want to say go get somebody, this is going to sound mean. Elijah just told me somebody just called in and said they should just play Luke Doty at quarterback.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
That's the answer? And that's not a knock on Luke, who's a great kid. If they wanted to play Luke Doty at quarterback, guess what they would do, y'all? I'll make it real simple for you. They would play Luke Doty at quarterback.
If they really thought he gave them the best chance to win.
Yes. I don't think he's taken a snap at quarterback this year. Davis Bevel had a nice touchdown against Akron. And Robbie Ashford has had to play meaningful minutes. Just saying. Again, not taking a shot at Luke, but putting Luke Doty at quarterback, at QB1 for South Carolina is not the answer. Staying with Lenoris and allowing him to develop is the answer. But it also has to come with a level of acceptance about the mistakes that he's still going to make. Again, I want to, you want to scream, whether you're in the ballpark or you're watching on television or listening on the radio. Get rid of the ball. Don't hold the ball that long. And if you do hold the ball that long, secure the ball. Lenoris knows these things, but he's got to do these things.
Mm-hmm. He's got to avoid the fumbles. Yeah. He's got to make the.
He's fumbled the ball a bunch, man. He's gotten some of them back, but he's fumbled the ball a lot.
Like, here's the thing: two things can be true at once, right? This isn't completely black and white. Like, yes, Lenoris throwing for 238 and 2 touchdowns is an improvement. Running the ball in key situations and getting out of broken down pockets, and I thought he had like one of his best running games. Didn't have an explosive touchdown like he did against LSU. But there are a few times he got outside the pocket, made a pump fake, got a linebacker off the ground, and got first downs. There was a lot of improvement from Lenoris Sellers. There was also a lot of the things that lose you football games that he also did, like the fumbles and missing Dre Jacobs in the corner of the end zone on the 2-point conversion, a throw that has to be at least within the catch radius of Jacobs and not in the stands, right? Two things can be true at once. Yes, there were some plays he did not make that kept you from winning the game, but there were also plays he made that gave you a lot of chances to win the game. The pass to Nick Harbor in the end zone for the touchdown to even get you to the 2-point conversion is a tough throw. That was a throw where only Nick Harbor was the only human being in the stadium that had a chance of catching that ball. And guess what? He did. He got the foot down. That puts you in a position
what a play, by the way.
Yes.
On both ends. The throw was perfect, but Nick, that shows growth.
Yeah.
I hope people understand that. I know sometimes you don't want to look at it that way.
It showed some growth.
But man, now go do that some more.
Yeah. And that's my thing too. Is we praised the offense with how much they were able to improve in that first half of the LSU game and said, look, this is what your offense can look like. This can keep you in games with your defense playing as well as they do. You got to keep that momentum going. And the momentum completely stalled after the Ole Miss game. Now you've got a little bit of it back. Can you continue to do the things that kept you in this game against Alabama while avoiding the things that lose you games, like bad penalties, like the Kamar Bell holding penalty that got you out of reasonable field goal range for Alex Herrera, made him have to kick a longer kick than he would have if that holding penalty was never occurred. Can you do the little things to avoid losses and do that in, I guess, hand in hand with the things that you're doing now in the passing game to be able to put drives together? Because look, we were talking about how bad the drive chart was in terms of not being able to finish drives. You were perfect in the red zone. You had multiple drives that milked 5 minutes off the clock. One that milked 8.5 off the clock. There was so much that you did in this game to help you win it offensively that you were not doing last week and that you were not doing against Old Dominion. And for the first half of the Kentucky game, you were not doing. There are a lot of points in the season where we said this offense has to get better, and there was at least some growth there. Now, at the same time, you got to be able to finish this game off, and that's where we can look at moving forward. But there is some progress there.
Let's hear more from you guys. 803-404-6100. Phone lines, Firehouse Subs text line. It's Reaction Monday on the Postgame Show. Welcome back in. Final few minutes of hour number one, but plenty more to go here across the afternoon, including some sound from Shane Beamer and players. Let me go back to this. Tommy hit me. Those helmets should be permanent, Jay, he says. Yes, Tommy, they should. They're
beautiful.
They should.
I don't know if they were technically the throwbacks because of the white face mask, unless the white face mask is a throwback. But I guess
the face mask was garnet back then. You know what? I honestly, now that you say that, I didn't even think about it.
But the all white was clean.
Yeah,
that's a legit look.
That helmet was it was a good look. But yeah, put the garnet face mask on it if you need to. Thank you, Tommy. And Waddy is happy with the De La Soul reference. Yeah, dude. De La was fun back in the day. I wish they had hung around for more. I don't know. They just didn't. But they were good for a bit. I do want to remind you the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest is going strong. If Carolina scores a special teams touchdown this weekend, someone's going to win $700. You see, we put $100 into the pot. Or again, I have to say, we don't. Lisa does.
Yeah, you have a mouse in your pocket?
That's right.
I ain't putting money into anything.
Lisa puts $100 into the pot every week. So it's up to $700 because we ain't had no winners yet. Again, last year it took till game 10, $1,000. Could happen again this year. Could happen this weekend. Don't know. But there's only one way to win, and that's to enter, and you do that by logging on to 1075thegame.com and looking for the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest, and we thank Lisa and her staff.
I will say, if we amended the rules to, instead of winning money for special teams touchdowns, if we just did it for really cool special teams plays, someone would be winning, because that onside kick was arguably the best piece of beauty that you will see from an onside kick all season long. There might not be, we saw two of them over the weekend, because that onside kick in the South Carolina-Alabama game, delicious. The onside kick in the Ohio State-Oregon game, where Oregon just kicked it off the chest of an Ohio State player. Like, I've always wondered, what if you just have a kicker line drive as fast as possible, and it just doinks off a player and bounces to you? Would that ever work? And they tested that theory, and newsflash, it worked. It was really cool. I saw two of the best executed onside kicks I have ever seen in this wild and wacky sport on Saturday, and I'm eternally grateful for it.
Do you believe we're going to see Oregon and Ohio State play each other again?
Yes.
Yeah, I do too.
That'll be a fun rematch.
Do you think it will be for the Big Ten title or in the playoffs?
I'll go Big Ten title. Okay. My dream of Rutgers weaseling their way in there with their schedule had an abrupt crashing over the weekend, because they just got absolutely smacked up at home to a bad Wisconsin team. I believed in them. And I'm not mad, but I am disappointed, which is worse than me being mad.
When does Ohio State go to Penn State? That's not for a little while, yes?
I don't know. I need to look, but
hang on, I'll do it. I'll do it real fast. I can probably find that out fast if I just go here and click on things. All right, let's see. Ohio State's schedule.
And Penn State got a really big win at Southern Cal.
They go to Penn State
down 20-6.
Yeah, they go to Penn State on the 2nd of November. So Ohio State is off this weekend. Then they'll host Nebraska.
Should be an interesting game, that one.
Then they go to Penn State. Interesting in the sense that Ohio State will score a lot of points and Nebraska won't.
Interesting is I think there's a ceiling to Nebraska's offense that could open the door to some intrigue. I still think Ohio State wins by multiple scores, but I think that with the way Nebraska plays offense, with the way Dylan Raiola has shown some flashes, they've been pretty bad at some points of the year, but they've shown some flashes and growth enough to where, in an adrenaline-filled game like that, yeah, some weird stuff can happen.
You want to guess what the FPI prediction rate is for Nebraska to win that game in Columbus?
7%.
Lower.
Ooh.
5.3.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's no one believes in us game.
But Nebraska's 5-1.
And lost, and really in the only game they lost, they completely gagged away.
Yeah.
The one to Illinois on a Friday night a few weeks ago.
And now, Nebraska fans are going to go, all right, so now we have to go to Indiana. They don't even have a football team.
Well, joke's on them.
So
normally.
That's how they'll be feeling.
Yes.
That's how they'll be feeling.
Because Indiana, bowl eligible already.
I love it.
6-0 Hoosiers.
6-0, man. Coach Cinetti is he's getting it done.
We might see a 9 Indiana. It's really possible.
Who they got left? All right, Nebraska this weekend, then host Washington.
I expect them to win.
At Michigan State, host Michigan, at Ohio State, and then the rivalry game with the Boilermakers. I see 4 more wins in there. Nebraska, Washington.
Yeah. Washington, yep. You're better than both of those teams. Much better than Purdue.
And then give me one of, well, they're not going to beat Ohio State, so give me one of the Michigan schools.
Yeah. Oh, you'll beat Michigan State. They should beat Michigan State, even though Michigan State is improved. And they could even beat Michigan. Michigan doesn't play offense. This version of the Michigan Wolverines has yet to discover the forward pass.
Well,
11 Indiana? Question mark?
I mean,
Not saying it's going to happen, but I'd like to see it.
that'd be something. More from Shane, more from you guys. 803-404-6100, reacting to Carolina's loss to Alabama, but looking ahead now to a very winnable game in Oklahoma. Hour 2 coming up. Been telling you about our friends at Palmetto Propane for years. They're a family-owned company. They've been doing it since the 1950s, delivering propane to homes and businesses for more than 65 years. Expert installation, exceptional service. They hire fantastic people, too. And the folks that run the Hearth and Patio Home Store showrooms are ready to help you out when it comes to the latest in indoor fire features, outdoor fire features, grills and accessories, Rinnai tankless water heaters. Again, trust me on this. I know I say it a bunch, but it's because it is the truth. Get one of those. Thank me later. They've got those stores all across the I-20 corridor from Augusta out on the west hand side of things to Batesburg, Lexington, West Columbia, and Aiken. Always online, too, at palmettopropane.com. Again, known for their expertise and experience, and they've been doing it since 1959. Ready to help you and your family out as well. Find a location near you and learn more at palmettopropane.com.
I mean, we pretty much came in knowing like we could do like just having a balanced offense, we could do whatever. So I mean, once we saw like we had the shots, we just started taking them. Honestly, they was playing heavy on the run, and the shots was there, so we just took them.
Lenora Sellers on his offense getting a little more aggressive through the air at Bryant-Denny Stadium on Saturday. No, it did not amount to a South Carolina win, but Lenore's was 23 of 31 for 238 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 pick. Certainly wants a couple of plays back. As we pointed out, Elijah had a stat when given a clean pocket, which was about 2/3 of his attempts, which has not necessarily been the case for South Carolina football the last couple of years. He completed 17 of those 23 overall. So a very good day for Lenoris. Again, not a fantastic day, not an excellent day, not a perfect day by any means, but a very good day, certainly in a relative sense. Welcome back in. Second hour of the postgame show coming at you. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell. You saw growth, and you saw things that continue to be an anchor weighing you down. And as I mentioned to open the show, if those things continue to affect ball games at a 50-50 rate, then you see who you are, which right now is a team that's 3-3. It's really not a coincidence. You'd like to be better, and you know what you want back. We had a caller in the last hour who said he didn't watch a lot of Carolina football, but was commenting on what he had seen. Said he didn't see last week, but judging by the score, he said, they were never really in it. And on the one hand, there is a way to make that true. Again, what hurts, and you just heard that clip from Coach Beamer, is that that whole team knows that they were taken out of that game with really, if not one decision, then certainly one decision and then one action a few minutes later, that being the Ashford fumble on what was an interesting play design. But it didn't go according to plan. And Mississippi immediately goes down, scores again, and effectively ruined the day. So, I mean, you were just, yeah. But I'd love to know what happens if you just punt that ball. But I'm not here to dwell on that anymore, because the point I was going to make, Elijah, is like Shane said, they came back. Listen, however you may feel, and again, I'm not here to change minds. I'm here to observe. Elijah's here to observe. We're here to listen to you guys, whether you agree, disagree, or find somewhere in the middle. I personally am very impressed with how the South Carolina football team responded to what was, I'd like to use another word, but I can't, so I'll say a really crap day last Saturday at Williams-Brice. I mean, crap. Bad. And again, you did it largely to yourself. And we asked Langston Moore on Friday, how do players respond or react when they know that something out of their control had such an impact? And you know, as you might expect, and Langston's played at all levels of football, that it could be different for different guys, but that you do your best to put it out. But as he said about it, you know, and he agreed with us, it lingered. And so then how do you let it affect you? Well, this team came out and clearly took it personally, that they knew they needed to go get better. I'll tip my cap to the coaching staff and to the players for how they responded on Saturday, even in losing. And again, if you're just tuned in and you're thinking you're hearing moral victory talk, you're not, because South Carolina lost. And I can look at a few of the reasons that Carolina did it to themselves again. But I will say Alabama's very talented and very good.
They were the number one team in the country just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's still Alabama, and they're still very good. They've had an interesting last 10 quarters. They have.
Put it mildly.
You and I were talking, look, they jump out to a massive lead against Georgia, see it literally slip away, only to have, you know, two fantastic talents make a play and win the game. They did come out sleepwalking against Vanderbilt. Sorry, but they did. That's certainly my opinion. And then I don't think they were sleepwalking against South Carolina. I think the South Carolina defense popped them around a couple of times because Milroe hit that, you know, had a big play early because he's Milroe. I thought you kept Williams out of the game pretty. I mean, how many catches did he have?
I mean, he only had like 4 for 32.
Yeah.
Had him in check.
Yeah.
Look, that was the best. This might be the best game your secondary has played all season long. Like, it was really complimentary from the front end to the back end. You like the Jalen Kilgore interception was him reading the play,
That was
jumping
a beauty,
it,
man.
picking it off, and giving you a field goal. The O'Donnell Fortune interception is a carbon copy play from that Old Dominion game where he's covering the flat, he's reading the quarterback's eyes, knows that ball is going into the corner of the end zone, and jumping it, and just making a play. Yeah. And you knew when Jalen Milroe put that ball in the air, he was not accounting for O'Donnell Fortune. That's what great cornerbacks do. And that was a phenomenal play.
I think the response was very good. Yes, you want to win the game, but it doesn't mean that there's this massive failure. Again, to me, the biggest failure was against Mississippi, because it didn't need to happen. But and you don't want that to cast a pall over anything more than what it already has. But the response, I thought, was good. If you don't agree, that's fine. That's fine. Again, I'm not here to change minds. But I thought Carolina, in losing, played a much better football game. Yes, they lost the game. End of story. Yeah. But I don't want to look at these things and just put them in a vacuum.
Well, there's nuance, man.
Yeah.
Like you can't tell me that the 2 losses to Ole Miss and Alabama are the same loss.
No.
Yeah, and that's why I think some people get and I get being frustrated with losing this game because it was so winnable.
You had it.
You were honestly, you can make the argument you were the better team, especially in the last 3 quarters.
And that's what hurts.
Once you got down 14-0, look, there's 2 different ways to handle being down 14-0. How you handled it last Saturday at home against Ole Miss, and how you handle it on the road at Tuscaloosa. And you can definitively say the way you handled it at Tuscaloosa was leaps and bounds better than how you handled being down 14-0 to Ole Miss. 2 teams that I think are legitimately 2 of the top 10 teams in the country. I know Ole Miss lost to LSU, but I think incredibly highly of that team, and they're still a really good football team. Both Ole Miss and Alabama, great football teams. Got down 2 scores to both of them. One, you laid down and the offense did absolutely nothing the entire game. The second one, your offense figured it out. You played a lot better in some key areas that you need to play better in, and you had a legitimate shot at winning, and we can honestly say that you should have won that football game. Not the same discussion we were having with Ole Miss last week.
803-404-6100, getting your reactions as well. Let's get back on the phone lines. Mike is up next. Hey, Mike, good afternoon.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Doing well, sir. Hope you are.
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to talk. Elijah brought up about the onside kick. Didn't see the one for Oregon and Ohio State, but that one that Kai Kroger did, 1, I've never seen anything like that before. And 2, that was like a picture of perfection.
Yeah.
It reminded me of, I play baseball and playing third base, and you get a worm burner hit to you, and it's got some spin on it. All you're doing is in self-defense then, and that's all the Alabama guys were. I mean, they just bounced off of you, keep it in front of you. So, but kudos. I mean, he's a wizard when his foot hits the ball, and he's pretty darn good too when he throws it. So.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Well, maybe we'll get to the lawyer Lisa touchdown coming up after all. Thank you, Mike. Now, listen.
Perfectly executed.
I have not been that surprised, I guess. You know, I'm trying to think of a different word to put some added context on it. But, you know, and I don't want to say I had resigned myself to seeing Carolina lose another heartbreaker, which they ultimately still did. I get it. But I figured after that, too, I was like, well, you got no timeouts. You know, and you knew they were going to try an onside kick. But, I mean, you don't really go into an onside kick going, oh, hey, they got a 50-50 here. I mean, what is
it? 50-50.
Yeah, what is the success rate of an onside kick? Maybe 10%. Maybe
I was thinking like 6.
Yeah, probably less. So you knew they were gonna, but I mean, you don't think to yourself, oh, well, they're going to get this one,
especially in a situation when the other team knows you are going to kick it onside.
Yeah, and even then, you know, but I was like, oh gosh, but then the Alabama defense really did buckle down. And again, they frustrated Lenoris. Good coverage.
Yeah.
And I know some people want that last one back. Look, I think at that point, I don't know. I mean,
there was a pass open in the flat that if you complete it and you get out of bounds would leave you one more play left.
And I think that was about 11 is that the one seconds. Will Helms was pointing out that there was somebody out there.
Yeah, out in the flat.
And
if you make that, then because I want to say it was Jacobs or Larvidan that was on that ran that route. If they catch it, they still need to get about 10 more yards upfield and out of bounds because you have no more timeouts, and you wouldn't have had enough time to set up and still clock the ball.
Right.
Because there's like 11 seconds left.
I would say it was like 12 seconds when that's,
Yeah, with the amount of time that you would have caught the ball. And I'm not saying this was impossible, but
Right.
by the time you caught the ball, cut 10 yards up the field, because you were still about 10 yards away from maybe trying a field goal.
Right.
Because that would put you at maybe the 35, 36, and that's still
a 50-pluser.
and that's probably out of Herrera's range or comfort zone, right? Which still you would rather. I would.
You
rather
want the
try
shot.
that.
Yeah. I mean,
want the
heck,
shot
I'll
for
take a
there.
shot at 60 at that point just to see what happens.
Yeah.
Or I don't know where Shane would have completely drawn a line on we're going to throw it into the end zone relative to giving Alex. I mean, he's got some leg,
I still would have tried it.
I think so.
Even for 53,
if it's
I think I
inside,
still would've tried it.
I tried inside of 55, 58, something like that. Just, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, but you didn't get the chance. You didn't get the chance. But that they got that ball back.
I will say, though, and I've been waiting to rip on Alabama for this, the dumbest thing they did all game was score that touchdown.
Yeah.
When you're up 20-19, there is 1:58 left. Your opponent has 0 timeouts. If you're Kalen DeBoer, during the 2-minute timeout, you tell those players, you catch the ball and you're beyond the sticks, go down. Because know what you have to do after that, Jay? Take 3 kneel downs at max.
Yeah.
And that's the game.
Yeah.
South Carolina will have no other chance to get the ball back. But instead, you scored the touchdown, kicked the extra point, still made it an 8-point game, and gave South Carolina the ball with like a minute 56 left. Yes, there were no timeouts. But you know what? That minute 56 that was left on the clock was about, I don't know, how much more? Like a minute and a half fewer than they needed. Like that was, because I'm trying to look back and when they scored that last touchdown.
The last Gamecock touchdown.
50 seconds left.
The drive took a minute 11.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and they had, because remember they had just under a minute when they got the onside.
It's like 40 seconds more than they needed to score. Right.
Right.
So, look, I mean, never want to tell a kid that was a dumb decision to score, right? But at the same time, before that, if you're Kalen DeBoer, with the way your defense has been hemorrhaging yards, because mind you, they almost gave up 400 total yards to South Carolina in this game. Let's keep that out there. You tell that player to not score. I'm sorry, I know you want to score. I know you want to get the stats, game-winning, ceiling touchdown, whatever, but it's not a game-sealing touchdown in that scenario. You have a 100% chance of winning if you just get down before going into the end zone.
What hurts for a lot of people that they're upset about, to further your point about what Carolina did, 23 first downs to Bama's 20. You were 7 of 15 on third down. Best third down day you've had in, I don't even know when, certainly against conference competition. 1 for 2 on fourth. You outgained them by 60 yards. You outpassed Jalen Milroe. You outrushed them by 30 yards. You had fewer penalties. You did have the two. One of the things I said too, and I channeling our dear friend Tommy Moody, is if you're going to win this game, you better be plus in the turnover category, and you were -2. And so if you look at all those other things, and then you look at that. Yeah, is that the difference? Not necessarily, but is it a big difference? Yeah, because again, when Lenoris fumbled, when there was the traded, you get the pick and then Lenoris fumbles, that one hurt, man. Because then you wouldn't have necessarily gone and won. I don't know that, but
you could have
that
milked
altered
more
that
time
altered
off
the
the
game.
clock because that fumble came off of the heels of a 16-play 85-yard drive. Right. I mean, then like that fumble.
You were feeling very good about yourself offensively at that point.
You're in the fourth quarter, and you've already held the ball for at this point well over 9 minutes in that half. Like, I don't know. You were feeling good enough to at least take a couple minutes off the clock and at least get a field goal and make it to where Alabama has to score a touchdown. Your chances are significantly better in that scenario.
803-404-6100. I should know the number by now. 803-404-6100. More of your phone calls coming up. Tell you about our good friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. If you're a homeowner looking to make some improvements around the house, spruce up that kitchen, new bathroom, maybe add on out back or redo that frog or whatever it might be, or you just want to consolidate some high interest debt, then a home equity line of credit could be a great option for you. And Palmetto Citizens is ready to help. They've been doing it since 1936, y'all. That's a long time to be in business, and their home equity loans offer great low rates. Plus, you'll pay lower closing costs and application fees than you do with the big banks. And when you unlock your home's equity, you can access that credit line over a 10-year draw period, not borrowing one big lump and paying interest on it. No, use it as you need it. Learn more and apply today at palmettocitizens.org or stop in to any of their 14 convenient Midlands locations. Join my wife and me as members. We love them. Palmetto Citizens, achieve your potential. Full disclosure, I just ate like 2/3 of a granola bar during the commercial break, and that was a bad idea.
It was a bad idea.
I like granola bars, but they do have that scratchiness to them, and I shouldn't have done that during a commercial break.
This is why this swig of water is
So
going to be very
now,
crucial for you.
this water brought to you by Elijah Campbell while I drink it. So
That's right.
what do you want to say?
There's a lot that I like to say, and that's that, one, while you're taking a swig of that, one of my greatest.
There we go.
And we'll get into more of it in the drive around the SEC. But
Yes.
when you give me a platform to say whatever I want to, impromptu, I'm going to take it. Is that one of my core football beliefs were really confirmed to be almost football biblical truth on Saturday when Billy Napier failed to go for 2 after they scored against Tennessee and then got their rear kicked in overtime. Always go for 2 in that situation, kids. Always go for when you are the underdog in that situation, you have a chance to win the game from 2 yards out, you take it. When you're not better than the other team on a per play basis and you're on the road and you just delivered a gut punch to a stadium of 100,000 screaming people, and you got all that momentum on your side and you have one play to seal the deal, take it.
I'd have done it. I agree. Fully.
Foolish.
Yeah.
Billy Napier's cowardice lost Florida that game.
Let's get back on the phones. Well, he may not be around much longer. David is up next. Hey, David, good afternoon.
Hey, y'all. How are y'all?
What's up?
Hey, so I'm going to complain about my bad real quick about Saturday. It's so frustrating being a Carolina fan and being this close in a game, and then just sometimes the little stuff shoots you in the foot, and I'll just leave it at that. I'm off that high horse.
All right.
The good, seeing Nick Harbor come up in the clutch with that catch. I know Carolina fans have been frustrated with, the production, I guess would be the best way to say that. If I'm wrong, correct me, please, with Nick. But seeing him come up in the clutch like that with that catch was really, really promising to see. That's all I got, guys. Have a great Monday. I'll hang up and listen.
All right, buddy. Appreciate it. No, it was, and you want to see that again. As glacial as a pace it may be right now, when it comes to where Nick Harbor is. That's how people feel. And again, there's some irony in saying that things he's doing are moving glacially.
I don't think he's ever been accused of having anything move along that slow a pace in his life.
But that was a big deal play, man. And look, you're going to hit some of them, you're going to miss some of them, but you got to try them, right? Like, you don't know until you do it. Elijah had one of the stats from last week's game against Mississippi where the longest attempted pass was less than 20 yards, 19 yards, right? And the longest completed pass was 17 or 11.
Your average depth of target was less than 6 for an entire game. You threw only one deep pass.
That's just, you got to, and it isn't like, no, Dowell Loggins got to do, look, Dowell knows, y'all, again, but Dowell needs to have some level of confidence in calling the play that it's going to be a successful play. What you don't want to do is have those plays become, a 5 interception kind of day.
Or
something
call
like that.
plays that require more time to develop downfield routes. Because that's one thing about throwing the ball downfield is you need time for those routes to develop and for the play to open up. And if your offensive line is having a really bad day and you realize that you don't got it up front, then it can be hard to try to dial those up. At some point, I do say it is worth trying anyway, especially with a mobile quarterback who can maybe extend the play. But they quadrupled their amount of deep shots in this game as opposed to the Ole Miss game. And if we want to talk about, play calling, there were some plays in that game. One that was definitely stolen from Vanderbilt how Vanderbilt played Alabama, that shovel pass to Oscar Attaway was definitely something that Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt did with machine-like efficiency against Alabama the week prior. You got a lot more creative in the offensive play calling this week in terms of maybe some of the triple option looks, the orbit motions that were utilized, which is definitely a kind of like a newer modern football wrinkle to an offense. And I thought the way you utilized Gage Larvadan on a couple of plays was really well thought out and creative to the point of being really efficient when you actually use those plays in practice. I thought the play calling was as good as it's been all year.
I agree. That's why I say I know
his best game.
Yeah, I agree. And it's unfortunate when you look at some of those things that you didn't do and where just a subtle little difference that not shooting yourself in the foot makes. But that's
the little things lost you the game.
That's the reality of where this team is right now. You can do a lot of good, and it only takes one bad.
It's like one of those days, it's like having a really good day. Everything's going your way. You're getting some lucky breaks. Like, good stuff's happening. And you're walking out the door at 5 o'clock on a Friday, and you're going down the stairs, and you don't realize your shoe's untied, and you tripped over your own shoes. You fell down those stairs, and now you have a compound fracture on your arm. And now all the great that you had today is completely ruined because now you got a bone sticking out of your arm. Now you got to go to the hospital and spend a lot of money to get that thing placed back in there. That could be frustrating. Kind of feels like that because the fumble was totally self-inflicted. both fumbles, totally self-inflicted, one being a whole lot more harmful than the other, but you still were so great at a lot of different things throughout the day that you haven't been great on throughout the year. So it's one of those deals.
Yeah.
That's football. Football can be very cruel.
Andy is up next on the phone line this afternoon. Hey, Andy, how are you?
Hey, guys, I was there this weekend. My daughter wants to go there. I'm not sure why, but she does. So we made a trip up there, and I tell you, when we were riding on the shuttle to the stadium, it felt like we were in the bottom in that elevator, like in the Coliseum, and the elevator goes up and you're fed to the Lions. That's kind of what we were thinking, because we just didn't know what to expect, which team was going to show up. But they showed up, and that was awesome. And I had great seats for the game. Alabama fans, to their credit, they were all super nice. I guess when you win a lot, you become nice.
I've said that before real quick, and I wasn't there this weekend, but I have said for years, in all seriousness, Andy, to me, it's weird. The two nicest fan bases in the Southeastern Conference, in my personal experience, are Auburn and Bama fans. And they hate each other, I realize, but they are really nice to visitors, unlike some places. That's all I'll say.
I had really good seats, and my daughter was there was not a cloud in the sky. It was hot that day, and so we left at halftime and watched the rest of the game, like tailgating, and went to Ramajama, and really, it's going to be a good school for her, I do believe. But the two things I saw before we left that I absolutely gives me hope for the future is when it was 4th and 5. Not a lot of people ever talk about that. When he dropped that dime of a pass, that was a beautiful thing to see in the end zone. Now, our first touchdown, that was amazing to watch. That was the best thrown ball I've seen in person in a long time. And I was in the end zone, and I got to see that safety where they just were relentless and would not let it go of him. That was pretty cool. And so we got stuff to build on. We just got to develop. We just got to be patient. I know it's hard as it can be to be a Carolina fan, but now if we're still like this next year having this conversation, that's going to be a problem. But I think if we can just keep the players and keep going, and I think y'all have made the point before, the coaches are learning how to coach too. A lot of this, they're growing. So hopefully by the end of the season, we'll have a better understanding where we're at. And one more thing, though, that was really, really cool. There was a dad, Alabama fans, of course, but there was a dad with a girl or a boy on his shoulders, and mom holding the little girl with the cheerleading fit. And that's Anywhere USA, man. That's one thing I love about college football. That's going on everywhere. That scenario, family, you can just change the colors and the logo, and it's just really cool. It's just a cool concept, and I enjoyed going with my daughter, and
Well, good luck to her in terms of getting in, and I got friends that have gone to Bama, and I know some of my daughter's friends that are now at Alabama. They love it. I also know some that went to Auburn, so they won't want to hear that. But they're really good people. They really are. I mean, I will say, I mean that quite sincerely. And now I've been covering this conference a long time. Again, I'm not going to name some fan bases that I don't like, but the Auburn folk and the Bama folk have always been, I just think, the nicest, which again is ironic because of their complete dislike for one another.
I have nothing about the Auburn fan base, but you have significantly different interactions with Alabama fans than I've had in my life.
Well, and like Andy said right there, it could be just the experiences. Again, you grew up in Tennessee, and I know you didn't go to UT, but you have family that did, and that's different. And that's why I say maybe depending on that was his point. Depending on who you are, depending on who you are. They may be real good to you. I can still hear a lady in Auburn the first time we went. Man, Carolina had that game, man. But after the game, y'all want some chicken? And yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I will never say no to that. Yes, ma'am.
More of your phone calls coming up. Bothered lately by any back pain, neck, shoulder, joint pain? Get back to feeling better. Back in the game with our friends at the Joint Chiropractic Centers. Bob and Janet Keene have owned the Joint for a long time. They've lived in Columbia for many, many years, and they just want you to know that they're here to help you. I mean, listen, it's real simple. You don't have to feel bad to feel better. That's Bob King's mantra. I think he is somebody who speaks firsthand to why that is so important. Get an initial visit. Never been to a chiropractor before? A consultation, an exam, and an adjustment. Just $29. You never need an appointment. You never need to worry about insurance. And if you get into their monthly plan and you travel for work, for sports, for vacation, whatever, there are joint chiropractic centers all across the country ready to help you out. Here in Columbia, Harbison, Forest Drive, Roberts Branch off Killian, Sunset Boulevard in Lexington, and always online at thejoint.com. Again, you don't have to feel bad to feel better at The Joint.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to, they're causing some issues on the roadways this afternoon. We'll start with the ones here in Richland County. Got one on Bluff Road at Highway 48 at Pineview Drive. Another one on Clemson Road before I-20. Another one on George Rogers Boulevard near Assembly Street. One on Highway 1 at Augusta Road at Sparkleberry Lane. And lastly, one on Longtown Road near Clemson Road. In Lexington County, we've got three. One on I-26 eastbound. That one's over near exit 115. And another one on 26 east. This one's near Sunset Boulevard at exit 110. And lastly, we have one on Highway 602 at US 21 near Charleston Highway.
Talking Carolina's loss at Alabama, amongst other things going on around college football. New AP poll is out. Texas remains number one. We'll have the full poll coming up for you in the top of the hour headlines. Baseball playoffs continue. Speaking of baseball, Gamecocks have some scrimmages this week if you're just interested in a little getaway from the norm.
A little fall ball.
Go to GamecocksOnline.com and find out the times. I think they had a little Sunday night scrimmage last night. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Unlike, in basketball, they have the secret scrimmages that people tweet about all the time that are not so secret because you can't keep a secret if two people are alive that have the information.
Let's
secret.
Let's get back on the phones. Justin is up next. Hey, Justin, how you doing, bud?
Doing good. How about you guys?
Doing well, man. Thank you.
Hey, guys. I was kind of happy with Alpha, but, man, I wish Sam's kid just throw a little short and run the ball and push your finger and get the kicker close to ways, and maybe they might have a chance to win the ball game.
Well, I agree, Justin. That's you want a couple of things back, but man, if you could have just a little bit closer.
That one does sting a little bit, especially when you pause it right at the time that Lenoris throws it. You see that the flat is there.
It's there.
But then you do kind of realize too. I mean, at best you're picking up 10 more yards, and that still would have put you for, I believe, 47 to 51 yard field goal, which is not a gimme. But at the same time, I mean, you would be in much happier shape to attempt a field goal as time is expiring from a reasonably makeable distance than having to hoist one up in the end zone one play later.
Give me cut number 19 on today's list, please. We've heard a snippet of this, although I can't. I don't know if this one is from the. He said it in the main post game and to Todd, but this is just how Shane said the team felt going into the ball game.
Obviously, a great college football game. Congrats to Alabama. They made more plays than we did at the end. Proud of the fight of our team coming down here. No one was surprised by our performance. We expected this. We competed our butts off all three phases. Everybody expected to win the football game. Came up a little bit short at the end, but really, really proud of our guys. Credit to Alabama, like I said, they coming off the loss to last week that they had, and then going into halftime, we had momentum, and then they came back out and made more plays than we did in the second half. Questions?
And we'll get to more of what Shane had to say through the course of the afternoon. We expected to win. Look, you can take that however you want. You might go, well, sure they did. That's what they got to say. And to some degree, that may be true. Again, I wanted you to hear that because I think more than anything else, it illustrates what this coach and his staff, but I'm going to give the bulk of the credit to the head coach, what he's able to do to pull these guys back up. Last week, could have been a killer, especially when you're going into a place like this one. And you've got to find a way to continue to have them believing. The last head coach was relieved of his duties midway through a season because he really couldn't do that. And I don't know what the future holds. We just had a really good caller a few minutes ago, Andy, who was there at the game, saying if we're having the same conversation this time next year, we got a different set of circumstances to be discussing, and he's right. And I don't know if we will or won't. I don't know, because the same teams you played. I mean, listen, I don't know what the actual dates look like, but next year you're going to go to Baton Rouge, you're going to go to Oxford. One of those feels a lot more intimidating than another.
Yes. One might not have a coach.
You're going to go to College Station next year, but Alabama's going to come to you, and Kentucky's going to come to you. Oklahoma's going to come to you. Clemson's going to come to you next year. Yeah, I don't know. You'd like to think there's going to be more cohesion and confidence. It's funny. I didn't necessarily think that was going to be a running theme through the course of the season. Sometimes it's just, as we sit here and talk, whether it's Elijah and me just talking to one another and you guys listening, whether you guys chime in. But I can still remember that week of the ODU game. Hey, listen, this is what this game's about. And they're still working on those things. And you're always, to some degree, working on getting better, but you might not always be working on the same kind of fundamental things. And you used a word earlier, look at the nuances of some of this stuff. At some point, you've got to take some other steps. And I don't know how realistic it is for, I feel like some people are like, well, they should be better than this by now. And maybe they should. Yeah. You don't have the injury issues up front. Mm-hmm. Thank God. But your quarterback did get hurt, and he did miss, a few weeks of crucial development time with this current roster. How much of a setback was that? Well, it's hard to measure in the moment. I don't know yet, but I think it had a significant impact.
I think it'd be hard to look at 3 points in an Ole Miss game after having a whole bye week to prepare for it as a way to be able to measure its letdown, or the disruption of the flow that you had in your offense. Because what we were talking about at the Akron game, right, was that you've seen some visible improvement from this offense from the time that you had the Old Dominion game, which I think is the baseline. A season opener, especially against a G5 opponent, a weaker G5 opponent, is a fair baseline as to what your offense can look like against less than replacement level football team. And this to see it regress the way it did against Ole Miss after Lenoris hadn't played for almost a month to that time, I think was a clear sign of that injury and him missing practice time and missing just any time in general to be, a sign that the improvement was disrupted at the very least, and that was where that setback came from. Now you just need to keep seeing it. You need to keep seeing the progression. Obviously, there was much more success on offense with the Alabama game on Saturday compared to Ole Miss. Mm-hmm. But can you see it again? Like that's the thing.
Yeah,
can
go do it again, right?
Add on to what you've already built, right? Like there's a difference to playing really well right here. Maybe it was a matchup thing, and then you go to Oklahoma and play a really good defense, and you score 9 points. Then what are you doing? Then you're taking one step forward only to take 2 steps back. And it's time to start compounding forward steps.
It is, and you may not. Again, Carolina opened as only a field goal underdog at Norman. At least the last I checked, it was 2.5, so it's ticked down a little bit even in favor of Carolina, whatever that may be worth to you. But you're right. And look, do the odds say, that you are you more likely to replicate what you just did on the road and add to it? Or is Oklahoma's defense better? Like, I don't know. Texas, how good is Texas now? I mean, all of a sudden, I got to start looking at Texas a lot differently, right? I mean, Oklahoma was pathetic on offense, but is it because they're so pathetic on offense that Texas scored as many points as they did? In other words, is the Oklahoma defense actually better than we give it? I mean, I think it is.
The Oklahoma defense, yeah. That's a really good defensive unit.
So do I expect them, the Gamecocks, to be able to go out and get nearly 400 yards? An average, again, with sacks removed, 4.6, 4.7 a carry?
4.6, yeah.
Now, I'll tell you what, don't go out there -2 in turnovers again.
Because then you'll lose a 13-9 ball game.
So, because I told you last week, and I was very serious about it. Now, if you had been even in turnovers, maybe you do win this game
significantly.
But I said, look, the way I've seen this team play last couple of weeks, I mean, I think I said +3.
I think you mentioned.
I think I said +3.
And your defense forced 2 big ones.
Yeah. So maybe you didn't need to be +3, but you can't be -2 again.
Special teams almost forced you a third.
They did,
You
man.
see that David Busey hit?
Yeah.
He put that helmet right on the ball, and that sucker popped right out. You're one good bounce away from getting that thing back in Alabama territory.
803-404-6100 to be a part of the program. Get into some of y'all's texts. I know we've been heavy on the phone lines. We'll get into the Firehouse Subs text line, and we'll announce the winner of this week's Wild Card Showdown when the postgame show returns. Welcome back in. 803-404-6100 to join us on the phone lines. Firehouse Subs text line. Elijah mining through those. A lot of them have the same kind of theme, so we'll pick a few out here shortly that he believes sets the tone the best, and we'll get to those in just a second. In the meantime, do you have some sound effects ready to go, including a sound effect for people that do good things?
Oh, would you say that would be, I don't know, a golf clap?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, just have that ready to go. This week's Wild Card Showdown was a mixed bag for everybody in the sense that three of us went 2-2-1. The push was the Baltimore-Washington game that ended with Baltimore winning by 7 points. So that's a push. I went 2-2-1. Got the Oregon game. Got the LSU game. Did not get the Cowboys.
None of us got the Cowboys.
We all picked Dallas.
I think that was a clean sweep with Dallas. And boy, bad. The exact opposite happened.
And I picked Oklahoma plus the 14.5. Didn't think they'd win. Thought that in a rivalry game like that, 14.5 might
show
be enough
a little bit of soul.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Elijah also went 2-2-1. He got the Oregon game. He got the Southern Cal game. They lost, but 3.5 was the spread.
They should have won that game. I mean, they were up, 23-6 going into the half? Yeah. They gagged that one away. But that was when I felt confident in having Southern Cal actually win outright. Shoulda.
Elijah missed on Ole Miss and, again, the Cowboys. And Dakar went 2-2-1 as well. He's like me. He got the Oregon and LSU wins. Missed on Dallas. He had Colorado to cover the 3.5. They did not.
I thought they did. 3.5?
Wait, Colorado. No, they didn't. What was that final?
31-28.
Was it? Are you sure?
Yeah, it was 31-28, wasn't it?
Oh, I thought. Well, then you know what? If I was wrong about that, hold on. We may have a live.
Well, my streak might be over.
We might have a live change to that. And we do. My apologies, Dakar. Hang on just a second. I looked at
2
that.
Wins, 3 wins.
Yeah,
wow.
no,
That's
I
right.
looked at that wrong.
He did text in earlier.
I'm glad we did that. All right. Well, then you know what? Never mind. It is not Elijah Campbell that wins the week with a 2-2-1. It is Dakar who wins at 3-1-1. A clerical error. My apologies. Glad we did this. All right, Dakar, you just won, man. James, on the other hand, he went 0-4-1.
Poor James.
All right, I'm sorry. All right, Dakar, we have Dakar's info.
We do. Actually, just texted him on our Firehouse.
All right, tell Dakar that we here's his craft beer card. He can come by the office and pick it up. We'll put his name on it.
That's right.
What's our address?
1301 Gervais Street.
There you go. Come on by, Dakar.
Floor 19.
19th floor. Your name and a beer card. I'll put it in an envelope. Man, I feel bad. I'm glad we sat here. I don't know why I thought that was 34-28 when I was doing the check this morning. I don't know. Maybe I saw another score somewhere.
That game actually ended up being really thrilling. I did not watch any of it, but I will go back and watch.
I could have sworn it was 34-28. So my bad. All right.
I've been dethroned by Dakar.
Yeah. Well, you're still having a good year. For the year, Elijah at 18-16-1. I am 15-19-1. So it's still not a great year.
Doing much better in the straight up picks on GamecockCentral.com.
Yeah. I'm in fourth. I guess Wes and I are tied. I saw Jack put out the standings. I'm tied with Wes for fourth. And what's Ford doing? He's taking over the Yuva role.
He's on a heater.
Yeah, he's some, again, I don't know. There's something about Ford and Yuva anyway, man. I think he's got intel.
It's those roots they have above the Mason-Dixon line.
There's something going on. I don't know what it is. Something going on. All right. Well, congratulations,
We'll
Dakar.
find something to accuse them of.
So there's one. We still have plenty. Well, not plenty, but we still have a few of our craft beer cards that will be prizes for the Wild Card Showdown, and we'll do it again on Friday.
It's a good value.
Looking forward to that. That's right. There's still a few left, by the way, if you want to just buy one. $79, get you $360 worth of beer.
It's a lot of beer.
A lot of beer, a lot of savings. Look on the Sweet Deals link at 1075thegame.com.
Sweels.
There you go. Free plug right there. I'm trying to, when you look at some of these other games, I mean, like Ashton Jeanty, by the way.
Absurd.
31 carries. Let me get this right. 31 carries, 217 yards, and a score. He also had 3 receptions for 20 yards and a score. He is on pace from a season standpoint to break Barry Sanders' record for most yards in a season by a running back. I want – and this is nothing about Barry, who I think the world of. Barry Sanders was an awesome running back. But I'd like Ashton to break this in a way that – because Barry did it in 11 regular season games. Yes. And Ashton's going to play at least 13, or so it would appear. I mean, they're going to make a bowl game. So, I mean, well, they'll make a good game.
They might make the playoff.
If they make the playoff, he's certainly going to play. If they make a good bowl game, does he play? Is he a junior?
He is. Let me go ahead and look right now. This is his third.
Yeah, he's
year.
a junior. Or he's a junior, so he's leaving this season. But he's killing it, man.
I mean, if you look at his numbers right now after 6 games, compare it to some of the Heisman winners post BCS era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to see him
good.
get like 3,000 yards. Just go for it, dude. Just go for it. Hour 3 coming up.
Quick word, my friends over at Columbia Secret for Weight Loss. Look, we are already a few weeks into October, and before you know it, the holidays are going to be here. And if you have a weight loss goal that you'd like to achieve by, say, Thanksgiving or Christmas, then Columbia Secret for Weight Loss is the perfect program for you, because that was how I was able to lose over 20 pounds in a month's time and reach my weight loss goal way faster than I even anticipated. Paul, Grant, and Shaylin do a fantastic job over at Columbia Secret for Weight Loss, and they can do that same wonders for you as well, and doing all of this without any shots, without any pills, just great coaching and great lifestyle changes, and being with you every step of the way. And if you'd like to learn the secret of losing up to 1 pound of unhealthy fat per day and starting your own success story like myself and many others here in the Midlands for over the past year, give them a call at 803-824-4210. Again, that's 803-824-4210, or hit them up at ColumbiaSecretForWeightLoss.com. Results may vary. From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to that are causing some issues on the roadways. We'll start at Bluff Road on Highway 48 at Pineview Drive. Got another one on Clemson Road before I-20. Another one on Farrow Road at Highway 555 at Old Sloan Road. One on George Rogers Boulevard near Assembly Street. One on 20 eastbound before Monticello Road and exit 68. And in Lexington County, got one on 26 eastbound at Sunset Boulevard near exit 110.
It is 5 o'clock news time on this Monday. Welcome back in. It's also the final hour of the Postgame Show alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. We continue with a heavy discussion on South Carolina's 27-25 loss in Tuscaloosa. The Gamecocks fall to 3-3, now 1-3 in conference play. They'll be at Oklahoma this weekend. A game of back and forth. Carolina for the second straight week down 14 points to a top 10 opponent. This time around, the Gamecocks not only turned it around, had a really good end of second quarter sequence, had some big plays in the second half that kept them in the ball game, even took the late lead before ultimately Alabama did just enough. Again, we've heard a couple of cuts already. Shane saying that his team expected to go in and win based on the week of practice and preparation that they had. So with those expectations in mind, what was the locker room like after a tough loss?
In the locker room, we're going to go right back to work. I hurt for them. I really hurt for them that I wasn't able to do more today to help us get over the top because they worked so hard during the week, and we all want to have a better feeling in that locker room than what we have right now. And that's life, and it didn't go the way we wanted today. We prepared the right way. We got to prepare the right way next week and get on the road and go do it again. We have a good football team. We've shown that, but in this conference, especially on the road, it's a fine line, and you never know when your moment's going to be. You never know when your number is going to be called, and they made one more play than we did today.
They made one more play, yeah. Again, you want a couple back. The 2-point try, it was open. You gotta hit it. You gotta secure the football. Two fumbles from Lenoris where just a lack of ball security gives Alabama that opportunity. Yet he had, by all accounts, a very good day for him. Here's Shane Beamer on his quarterback's overall performance.
Yeah, he's a warrior. Proud of him. He continues to get better each and every week. To come on the road, 23 of 31, 238 yards, and ran the ball well. I thought he did enough for us to win the football game, and he'll continue to get better. I think he'll tell you we got to be ready to can't hang onto the ball quite too long. I thought there were a couple times today where we maybe hung onto the ball a little bit too long, but he gave us a chance and to go on the road in front of 100,000 and basically execute two-minute drives right there at the end of the game. We didn't finish the last one, I know, but to have the ball moving and operate efficiently, he continues to get better.
He did, as we've talked about a bunch. The play to Harbor was big. That ball can only be caught by, the receiver, especially when he's a really big man. And then the deft touch that Nick showed to keep this foot inbounds, hold on to the ball going down, because he did land hard. You know, big people land hard, especially when they're way up in the air. So, I mean, to put the foot down, to secure the football, to get the score was huge. Again, you want that 2-point try back. And I know even on the television broadcast, I didn't notice it Saturday, but yesterday when I was watching, they said what we all thought, like, well, he wants that one back. It's just, and you do. You don't get it back. You don't. But, by the way, I don't know. I don't want to make too much of this right now because I haven't gone in and done a lot. But I did see that Chris Clark pointed out that there should have been a penalty call on the missed 51-yard field goal try that would have given Carolina a first down. Apparently, an Alabama player did use one of his teammates as kind of a springboard, which is obviously now not allowed, but it was not flagged. For all the talk of the flags against Carolina in the LSU game, one not thrown might, again, does it mean you win the football game? No, it doesn't. But there was something else. That popped into my head. I wouldn't typically have done that in this particular point of the program, but that just came into my head. One more here from Shane. For now, we'll get more from Shane and the players in our 5:15 segment. But his overall thoughts on how the defense played.
They did well enough. The first drive of the game, disappointed. We played a little loose in coverage and weren't as aggressive as I wanted us to be, but they settled down after that. Coming into the game, Todd, our key was we needed to affect the quarterback, and we did that in the first half. We stopped the run. We sacked him 4 times. We created a turnover. And, disappointing on that last drive where we let them score a touchdown on that 3rd and long play right around the 2-minute timeout. But for the most part, they did what they needed to do to give us a chance to win the game.
And even Shane's fallen into the trap of calling it the 2-minute timeout.
I don't know if I'd be upset that you gave up the touchdown there. Giving up a touchdown in that situation is the second best thing that could happen to you.
Yeah, I get your point, and you mentioned that earlier.
Because the game is over.
Maybe a coach doesn't look at it the same. I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, if they control the football without scoring, they're still ahead by a point relative to 8.
Well, I mean, look, that's one thing I'd be telling players at that point in time, too. Like, look, if they catch the ball in the middle field and it's past the sticks, let them score.
Yeah.
At that point, because you then have a chance to still win.
Right.
Because if you tackle them for because it was 3rd and 8, and let's say they pick up 15 yards, game's over.
Yeah.
Game is over. Then your chances to win are 0 because you had 0 timeouts. Your chances to win are at least non-zero. I don't know what they are, but I know it's above 0 if they score and you get the ball back, because as we learned, you not only got the ball back and scored, but you got the onside kick that would have given you a chance to kick a field goal and win the game. So actually, I will push back one little bit by saying, yeah, you can be upset that your defense gave up a score. However, that's in that situation, the second best thing that can happen to you.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. More on the Gamecocks coming up in just a little bit. In the meantime, the new AP poll is out. Texas remains the number 1 team in the country, but they have really secured it now. 56 of the 62 first-place votes going to the Longhorns. Oregon is now the number 2 team in the country. They got the remaining 6. Penn State is up to 3rd. Ohio State drops to 4. Georgia holds steady at 5. I can't tell if Georgia is kind of playing possum right now after the Alabama game, like that last week. Like Kirby's going, just let them score. It's fine. We're going to win. Or if Georgia has some issues.
Oh, I know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Georgia has issues because they're playing possum. Kirby Smart wouldn't have gone ballistic on a Mississippi State quarterback who just so happened to be in the way between him and an assistant coach. That's not what guys that are totally composed do. That is not the action of a guy who's totally cool with how much their defense is giving up to Mississippi State. If he was cool with it and they were playing a little bit of possum, then you might give Van Buren an old slap on the rear and say, "Good play, 10." Or whatever his number is, but instead the guy lost his bleeping mind.
Did he even know who? He says he didn't even realize that he had done it, or that there was somebody. I mean, maybe he just thought it was one of his guys,
which is just total BS. Unless he just completely.
I haven't seen the clip yet. I just saw that I kept meaning to go back and look at it, and I never.
Because here's a hint for Kirby: your team is wearing red jerseys with red helmets and a black G on it. They're wearing all white jerseys with white helmets in maroon script. it's pretty easy to identify what player is on your sideline that belongs on your sideline and what player is on your sideline that does not belong on your sideline. And unless he just blacked out from anger and has no idea what goes on, which we've all been there before, where you have no idea what's going on or what just left your mouth or who you just came in contact with, then that's a load of BS. We're not dumb.
Miami is number 6. They hold their spot. So does Alabama at 7. LSU up 5 to number 8. Iowa State is now 9th. Hey, Matt Campbell sighting. They're back. Yeah. The Cyclones are back.
The Cyclone cycle, which means be really good up until mid-October, get into the top 10 or something adjacent, and have Matt Campbell's name be the hot new name on message boards to be the coach somewhere else. They fall back to earth, and Matt Campbell stay in Ames. This is a Cyclone cycle that happens pretty regularly.
Yeah, I agree. Clemson is number 10. Tennessee, even though they did win the game, falls 3 spots to 11. Notre Dame is 12. BYU 13. A&M 14. Boise State up a couple of spots to 15. Indiana, that's right. They play football in Bloomington. They are 6-0 and number 16.
Windiana.
K-State is 17. Ole Miss drops 9 spots after the loss in overtime in Baton Rouge to number 18. Missouri is 19th. And Pitt stays undefeated. They're number 20. Final 5, SMU, Illinois, Army into the poll. Well done. Michigan is number 24. Navy into the poll. Well done.
Both of them.
Both of them. Unfortunately, Troy Calhoun's Air Force Falcons not so good this year for one of the big 3 service academy football programs.
Yeah,
but
they stink.
Army and Navy are undefeated. Again, what if we have back-to-back Army-Navy games? And
one with a lot on the line. Both actually would end up having a lot on the line.
We might just have that later on this season. To the NFL tonight, and we'll have the game for you, at least here in Columbia. Bills and the Jets. Seriously?
Things are going so great.
Why do we keep putting the Jets on national television? I know why, but I mean, just
Aaron Rodgers.
I know. Just stop.
What year is it? It's 2024.
Yeah.
Okay, the Aaron Rodgers infatuation needs to go away. He's not any good anymore.
But anyway, that's tonight. Buffalo -1 in the city. So there you go. Some bad news for the Lions, despite a big win yesterday in Dallas, 47-9. But star D lineman Aiden Hutchinson it was bad. Then they delayed the game for a long time. A fractured tibia and fibula yesterday against the Cowboys. He underwent immediate surgery in Dallas last night. He will remain in the hospital for a couple of more days to recover, then make his way back to Detroit. Certainly done for the season. The Lions saying at this point, quote, there is no timetable for his return. Again, Adam Schefter did say this is a 6 to 8 month recovery process based on some of the folks that he has spoken with. A rod was placed in Hutchinson's leg during the surgery. It happened on a sack of Dak Prescott. Again, Detroit winning big yesterday, 47-9. They took things personally in Dallas yesterday.
They did.
Yeah.
They showed off a little bit. Ben Johnson showed off a little bit of that playbook. But if you saw the touchdown to the big man right after the injury, make Detroit feel a little bit better about losing the best defensive player in the league.
He's man, that's the thing. And
that was a gross injury too, man. That was rough.
Yeah, how much this hampers their chances, because a lot of folks have them. Last year they nearly made the Super Bowl, and this year a lot of folks think they will make the Super Bowl. But he's one of the main reasons why they're so good. You can typically absorb the loss of even a great player like that. And Dan Campbell certainly seems to be the kind of coach who can instill that mindset. But we'll see. But it's a big blow. And all the best to Aiden Hutchinson. I know it's kind of I'm just going to ask you kind of an opinion real quick. Spencer Rattler was okay yesterday, right? He was good.
He was good enough in relief. Yeah. I don't think all of the Saints' shortcomings were his fault because there were a lot of them. They played very poorly as a team. I think they might be the first team in the history of the NFL to score 27 points in a specific quarter and still lose by as much as they did.
My goodness. Finally, in our integrated media headlines of the day, Major League Baseball playoffs continue. LCS underway out Game 2 out west. Last night, the Dodgers won big, 9-0 over the Mets. Today, the Mets responding in kind. They're in the bottom of the third in L.A. It's New York 6-0 right now over the Dodgers. Game 1 tonight in the American League sees Cleveland at the New York Yankees. That's our integrated media headlines of today. 803-948-8327 for all of your home theater needs and so much more. Keep going with football. Get ready for the holidays and beyond with our good friends at Integrated Media. More on the Gamecocks and the Crimson Tide when the postgame show returns. Welcome back in. Postgame Show continues on this Monday afternoon. By the way, I have an assignment for Elijah that I haven't even given him yet. That's coming up at the end of the program, but something that we'll need to do. I'll tell you about it in a minute. But stay tuned.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, here you are. Well, you may not care as much as I do, but I'll leave it at that. But
who am I hunting down?
I can't tell you that. Not on air. You just gotta wait. But coming up in like 30 minutes.
All right, we're getting ready.
Yeah, like 30 minutes. Just be ready.
My real talents to use.
In the meantime, let's see what John has to say. John's been a regular on the show for a long time. I honestly, the only thing that would make me more nervous about putting you on the air today is if the Braves had lost a playoff game this weekend as well. So
with the Cowboys, I'm kind of numb to it, honestly. Have been since that San Francisco loss, not 2 years ago, but 3 years ago, when I think that was the year that Dak took the snap and tried to sneak it for 50 yards?
Something like that.
Yeah. Ever since then, I've pretty much been numb to it. But
I hear you.
Quite honestly, Jay, the other day, encouraging and heartbreaking at the same time, I guess.
That's fair.
The thing is that, we talked about this last week. Why not try some deep shots downfield? And they did it this week, and what do you know? It worked. Lenora Sellers has a cannon. Use it. And when they used it, what do you know? It was effective. But the thing is that with a young quarterback, he's going to do young quarterback things. And that fumble he had right after the O'Donnell Fortune pick, that was the knife.
It was brutal, man.
That was, you can't do that in that situation. You have all the momentum in the world. You have the ball. You have an opportunity to basically march downfield and maybe not quite, but in a way kind of ice the game, and you gave it right back to them. And that was kind of where the air went out of the balloon. And even still, you gave yourself a chance at the end there, but I don't know. The play calling early in the game to me was suspect at best. I mean, it just felt like it almost felt like the play calling on offense. It felt like, and I was telling my buddy this who I went with, they have this video that they play, I don't know how many SEC championships or All-Americans they've got, 18 national championships. And I said to him, we're not playing against any of those teams or any of those players that won national championships. So it sort of felt like almost Dowell was calling plays. They were short. They were not going downfield and exposing Alabama like they were later in the game. I don't know. It just felt like there were some opportunities early that they missed. The roughing the punter play, I thought that was a little much. I didn't think that was quite enough for roughing, but again, I was on the opposite end, so I don't really know. But
I've seen that go both ways. Yeah,
valiant effort. Appreciate the effort, and color me crazy. I think we can go to Norman and get a win if we play with the intensity and we play with the fire that we played with on Saturday. But again, Coach Spurrier always said it. The good teams are the ones that win the close games, and based on that, we're not a good team right now.
Yeah, they're not. Thanks as always, buddy. That was a really good phone call. Like I said to open the show, if you do a lot of good and you're still doing enough bad and it's weighted out at 50-50, it isn't like half of your plays are bad when I say 50-50. But the turnovers and the misses, if you will, I'm talking about Lenoris overshooting a couple of guys or not seeing a couple of guys. You end up being a kind of a fifth, like you've done 50% good and 50% bad. And what do you get? You get a team that's 3-3.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not overly surprising. It is disappointing. There's no question, but they did get better. And we'll begin to turn our attention, certainly tomorrow with Coach Beamer's press conference at 1 o'clock. That's, again, the Tuesday press conference is primarily designed to be a look ahead to the week's coming game, not so much a reflection back. But I'm sure when you played Alabama and you played well enough to win, that there'll be some look back. But you and I were talking a lot this morning, and I know we'll save some more of this for later in the week, but you talk about expectation. There are going to be a lot of people now that believe, hey, South Carolina, if you play the way you did, mostly at least, against LSU and Alabama, you should expect to beat Oklahoma. I'm not going to personally go that far yet.
I will. Spoiler alert, I will.
Well, yeah, and I get it. And I'm coming close to it. And maybe you and others change my mind by the time we get to Friday afternoon's show and our final thoughts. I said earlier in the day, I was surprised that Carolina opened as a 3-point underdog. I don't really have if you say, why did you think that? I didn't. I thought he'd be about 8. I don't know why. I don't have a clear answer for you. I was just trying to think about what Oklahoma did, what Carolina did, what Oklahoma's been doing, what Carolina's been doing, where you're going to play, and thought, a little more than a touchdown. But I figured that's where they'd set the betting line. And that maybe it drops to 6.5 by kickoff or something like that. So instead, now again, a spread is not a prediction. It is a number designed to part you from your money. The computer is about, I think it's like 60-40. Am I right about that?
I have not looked at the FPI.
You want me to look?
Yeah, you go ahead and look, and I can convince you right now that you should win this game. Okay. Because if you want to be a program that continuously gets better and builds upon your little all types of victories, like offensively, that was, I don't want to use the term moral victory, but like offensively, you proved yourself something, right? You proved yourself that you can go into Alabama and have 3 scoring drives of 70-plus yards. 2 of those took 10 and 16 plays and milked a lot of time off the clock. You were just a couple plays away offensively from beating Alabama, right? You can't keep taking 2 steps forward and then taking 1 big step back. Right? You can't. You have to progress forward. If you want to achieve your goals this season, you must beat Oklahoma because you are a better football team than Oklahoma is right now. Oklahoma's got a lot of the same problems you do. Your defense is really good. You haven't seen enough from your offense to feel really good. But on Oklahoma's side, they don't know who the quarterback's going to be. They've got like their first 4 wide receivers all injured and out. They have not had the same offensive line start multiple games back-to-back this year. And that was your big deal last year. Oklahoma's offensive line is every bit as bad as yours was last year, or close to it. It's brutal. You can win next week with 17 points, or you should be able to win next week's game with 17 to 20 points. You absolutely should, unless you give them the ball at the 15-yard line.
Well, and that concerns me. Again, turnovers, like I said last week, turnovers were going to be a thing. And as I said, I think you're going to need to be +3 to win this game based on what I felt from both schools. If you had been even, you win the football game, but you were -2.
Yeah, and you still should have won the football game.
Probably so.
You still should have.
Yeah.
This will be a game that you'll still have to, I'm not saying go into Norman and beat the brakes off of them. This is one that you're going to be in a close game. Finish the deal, because that's what really good teams do, is they finish the deal. Right. You've now shown yourself that, and everybody else in the country, that you can hang with whoever, wherever, right? Prove to yourself that you can close one out.
Yeah, go win the game.
And if you can't win the game, then look, like Nebraska with Scott Frost broke records with how many one-score games they ended up losing. Right? As good as those teams might have been through a per-play basis, because they weren't terrible teams, they lost a lot of one-score games. Sometimes it's because they couldn't create their own luck. You're going to have to create your own luck. And that's what good programs do, is find a way to be able to win those games. You've now shown yourself you can do it. Now it's time to apply them against lesser teams. That's why I will say, yeah, you have to win this game at Oklahoma next week.
803-404-6100. Continue to be a part of the program. Drive Around the SEC is next. Love telling you about our friends at AAA Heating and Air. They remain busy. They remain amongst the very, very best at what they do across the Midlands. I can speak to that firsthand. And now they are looking for you. So are you ready for a new career? Well, Roy and Dana Finley and AAA Heating and Air are ready to get you into their crew with the highest pay in the industry, a comprehensive benefits package that includes 401k, insurance, a lot of paid time off, and so much more. But that's not all. You get a take-home truck, electronic inventory management, all of these part of the package when you work for the great folks at AAA Heating and Air. So if this is something that interests you, you can use the same number everybody else does. Call them up, 803-677-1500. Tell them you heard it here and that you are interested in joining the family at AAA Heating and Air. It really is that simple, 677-1500, AAA Heating and Air.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to you that are causing some issues on the roadways. And we'll start with one on Farrow Road at Highway 555 at Old Sloan Road. We do have an accident. It's got the left lane blocked completely on 26 eastbound between exit 125 and 129. Have another accident that has causing more minor traffic backup on 20 eastbound. Two of them on 20 eastbound, one at exit 68, the other at exit 73. And lastly, we have an accident recently reported on Marshall Street near South Carolina 277.
All right, welcome back in. It is Drive Around the SEC time. Yours truly just made it up to the 19th floor and back on an elevator without having to stop. Thank goodness. I wasn't concerned about getting up to 19. We're on 1, by the way, for anybody that doesn't know that. We're on street level here in our building.
Yeah.
I needed envelopes
to see us from the street, so
put
if you want to flip Jay off, you can do it pretty easily.
And there's at least a couple of people today that do.
I know exactly where you can fulfill your prophecy.
Shout out to Jason, who I think it really is a good dude, but Jason is not happy with me right now. That's fine. You know, sometimes people aren't happy with me. I had to go get some envelopes, and I was really concerned about the down trip from 19 because I figured people would be leaving the building. We have 6 elevators here, although I think 2 are out of commission as they're being repaired. So I was kind of nervous. I was like, can I make it up and back in 3 minutes? But I did.
You did. You made a really good time.
Barely, but I made it. Before we talk about everything else that happened in the SEC today, let's get to Ty, who wants to talk more about what's going on. Hey, Ty, good afternoon.
Hey, guys. How you?
Doing all right, buddy. What's up? Oh, did we lose Ty?
Oh, no.
Uh-oh. Ty, if you can hear us, we can't hear you. There you are. There you are. Yeah, what's up? There you go. All right.
2 quick things. Just like I said, the South Carolina game was very entertaining. Enjoyed it completely. But I had a question as watching it. Do you think that the football has got where it's more parity because of the transfers, or is it just that kind of year that it just seems like anybody can win any game? It's no clear number one. It just seems like if you look across the whole spectrum of football, it just seems like it's a lot of upsets, a lot of closer games. I don't know. What do y'all guys think?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think there's a lot of reasons. I think the parity has been building for quite some time, primarily because more schools are. Listen, this is why we have first. We went from the BCS to the college football playoff, and now to a 12-school playoff. There were a lot of school presidents. Forget ADs, forget head coaches. There are a lot of school presidents, a lot of chairs of the board going, we're spending a lot of money, and you basically tell me we get one loss before Halloween and we can't play for a title. Or worse yet, like Georgia last year. Wait a minute. We do all of this and we spank everybody and we can't play for a title because we lost by 3 on a neutral field. I say that, Ty, to bring it up, that so many schools are spending a lot on football. And so that is creating opportunities. Now throw in NIL, throw in the transfer portal. And, yeah, you can certainly see, if you do it right, you can see a lot of schools get better even more quickly than in days gone by. So I think the parity has been coming. I think this has been an extra push. I'd ultimately like to see this, as so many things in life do, it will correct. Markets correct themselves, at least if you're a believer in a free market system. And I am, for what it's worth. I am a believer in the free market. So I think more than anything, that's what it is. Now, look, that being said, Ty, I don't want to burst your bubble. Ohio State is still loaded with talent. I know they lost Saturday night by a point.
That's still the best roster in the sport.
On the road.
I still feel really confident.
Yeah. And sometimes you lose, man. It's sports.
Yeah. Sometimes you lose because the other team just drills a football off the chest of one of your special teams players and gets an onside kick. Still not over that. It's the coolest thing I've seen this weekend.
You know, I'm believing more in Texas as we kind of get into the drive around now. And thank you for the phone call, Ty. Again, a lot of reasons. But yes, Ty, there is, while there is still separation from the biggest programs, again, Ohio State is, you know, if you are a college football program not named Ohio State and you ask one question, is Ohio State more talented than me? The answer is going to be yes.
Yeah.
You know? Now, to what degree?
Can change.
Yeah, not so much.
I will say, though.
Depending if you're Georgia, Texas, not so much.
To Ty's question, because I think there's a smidge that goes into the element of here of what's making this a wacky season. What he said is, he said, is there truly more parity in this game, or is this just one of those years? There's like a pinch of 2007.
Yeah, we've been talking about 2007
in this year,
yeah,
right? Yeah. Like, you know, like when you go to a recipe and it's like it doesn't give you like if you need to use a tablespoon or a teaspoon or anything like that. Like it just says a pinch of something.
Sure.
There's a pinch of 2007 in 2024.
That's fair.
Based off what we've seen, the weirdness. Like I firmly believe we might have a 2-loss national champion this year for the first time since
2007.
And the only time.
Les Miles and LSU.
That's the only time since the BCS era we have a 2-loss national champion. We've had 2-loss national champions before. That's because they've been claimed sometimes decades after those seasons were played.
Well, yeah,
so those don't count. I do not count those.
John mentioning all of the titles that Alabama has, and I think 6 of them are Aunt Maud's Garden Club.
You got a couple 3-loss titles in there.
Well, we think Alabama was the national champion. Thank you, Aunt Maud. But it was published.
Aunt Maud had the deciding vote.
Aunt Maud's Garden Club book.
They were the most polite football team in 1957.
We went to see them, and
they were so nice.
Yeah.
That's how some of those were decided.
That's right.
No one's won this national championship. Well, I think the University of Kentucky deserves this national championship. They were, I think the one national championship Kentucky claimed, they might have had 3 or 4 losses. I need to go back and look at that. But there was one that they claimed back in 2016. They claimed one from the 30s or 40s.
Again,
that was so absurd.
Yeah, that wasn't Ant. That was some racing form from Keeneland that also said, by the way, football champions this year, Kentucky. Oh well, hey, again, it was published.
It's hey, this food here that I'm selling is going bad in a day. I don't even want any money from it. Just take it. It's one of those. These national championships have sat around for 70 years and no one's wanted it. Just take it if you just show that you want it. And that's what Kentucky has done.
Scores from last week. Oh, hang on. Computer's wanting to mess with me here. There we go. Southeastern Conference. That's what we're looking at. Georgia, speaking of them, over Mississippi State, 41-31. Again, Georgia does seemingly have a few issues.
They gave up 31 points to Mississippi State.
To a bad team.
On the plus side, you threw for almost 500 yards.
Yeah.
On the negative side, Mississippi State, who is the worst team in the SEC, I don't think there's a close second, put up 31 on you.
Texas all over Oklahoma, 34-3. Again, Georgia at Texas coming up. Tennessee beat Florida in overtime, 23-17. You want to give us your take on that one more time?
Yes, absolutely. That Billy Napier's cowardice lost Florida that game.
Oh.
They scored a touchdown with 29 seconds left to make it 17-16 Tennessee. And he flirted with the idea of going for 2, brought out a swinging gate formation to line up as if they were going to go for 2 in that. Tennessee called the timeout, scared of what might happen and not being prepared for what Florida just shown them. And then Florida brings the PAT team back out and kicks the extra point. In a situation like that, with a freshman quarterback in a hostile environment, you get one play from 2 yards out, Jay Phillips, to pull off the upset, and you elect to try your chances in overtime where you did not gain a single yard in overtime. Your kicker missed a field goal, again, in a house of 100,000-plus packed people that are jammed like sardines in there, yelling at you. You missed the field goal, and then Tennessee, in 6 draw plays, marches into the end zone and wins. Cowardice. Cowardice cost you the game, Billy Napier. Congratulations.
Like lemmings into shiny metal boxes, Sting once sang.
Always go for 2 in
Tennessee wins that one. Yeah, and again, you and I talked earlier today about that off air. It's lose-lose for Billy Napier unless you make the 2. If you do what he did, as you point out, lose. If you don't make the 2, I can't believe you didn't kick it there and then get into overtime and try to survive. Again, you can't.
And here's a good barometer of what makes a good decision in the moment. The 100,000-plus Tennessee Vol fans in that stadium, do you think they were excited that Florida didn't bring their extra point, their 2-point team out there?
No.
I think they were excited to see the kicker.
Yeah.
If the opposing fans are that excited to see the kicker,
right,
you made the wrong decision. The other team should not celebrate the decision you made. I guarantee you there would not have been, the collective blood pressure of that entire stadium would have gone up. And there'd been so much stress and anxiety if they bring DJ Lagway back out on the field for that 2-point play. Because with 29 seconds to go in that game and the way their offense played, they weren't going to get in good position to kick a field goal and win that. You had a chance to win it from 2 yards out, and you chose not to.
LSU edged Ole Miss also in overtime, 29-26. Nussmeier was good. He threaded the needle a few times. And Vanderbilt, for the second straight game, never trailed. Vanderbilt wins at Kentucky 20-13. Kentucky didn't know what to do. It was odd to watch that game unfold.
Outclassed.
Yeah. They just didn't have answers. That's the drive around the SEC, brought to you by Herndon Chevrolet. We'll come back and celebrate one of the greatest moments in sports. It's a big anniversary. You'll hear it coming up.
A room in right center. If he hits one there, we can dance in the streets. The 2-1. Swung line drive left field. One run is in. Here comes Breen. Here's the throw to the plate. He is safe. Braves win. Braves win. Braves win. Braves win. Braves win.
Oh, man. That happened on this date Now, 32 years ago, how is it possible that it was that long? 1992. The Atlanta Braves down a run, 2 outs, bottom 9, Game 7, winner to the World Series. Pirates feeling good about themselves. Bases loaded. Frankie Cabrera at the plate. Bobby Cox had the Braves just running on fumes, man. David Justice at third. The beauty of that, too, and by the way, hi, welcome back in. Jay and Elijah with you.
Just got a text from our pal Jeff Haley asking me to now play the 1985 Ozzie Smith win against the Dodgers, and my response, over my dead body.
Was that on this date, Jeff?
Even if it is.
In 1985?
All Cardinals highlights vetoed.
Yeah. No. David Justice was going to score regardless. So at bare minimum, that game was going to extra innings. So there's the beauty of it, right? But then there's Sid Bream. I got to interview Sid. It was in the old building. We've been here now, about 10 years? So it was in the old building. But Sid, in a funny way, he was like, hey, I'm faster than people think I was. Because I said, like, hey, there you came running around. But, I mean, skin of his teeth.
Sneaky athletic?
Yeah, skin of his teeth, right? He made that in. Listen, the Braves in my lifetime have won the World Series twice, and they are now obviously regulars in the playoffs, which is great. I can tell you, again, I was at, it helped me out now, the official name, Elijah, was at the Smoky Mountain Brewery in Old Town, Knoxville. Is that the name of the place?
Brewery or distillery?
No, it's a brewery. It was a brewery.
Okay, that might be more like it. Old Smoky is the distillery.
No, it wasn't a distillery. It was definitely a brewery. As like craft beer places were becoming a bigger thing. Place was packed. That's where I was, because Carolina had when Carolina, and this is going back to like when the Braves won the World Series is what I'm talking about. That's where we were, because we were in Knoxville that day for a Carolina-Tennessee game, and the football game went horribly bad for South Carolina. But and there was one dude.
This is good.
I remember this. There was one dude at this brewery, because by then all the Tennessee folks were happy, and Carolina fans, again, it was an ugly day, so Carolina fans no longer cared. And there was several bars and places you could get drinks. But there was one Auburn dude who was like imploring a bartender to put on whoever Auburn was playing that night.
And guess what was not going to happen?
The guy was like, man, you see what's happening here, right? Like, I'm not changing these televisions. Sorry. Like, I'm not. The Braves are about to win the World Series, brother. Like, we're not.
No, we are not.
It's a 1-0. It's a 1-0 game in the World Series, and all these people are Braves fans. Like, sorry, not. This is a big room.
No one cares about Auburn right now.
I remember getting a beer. I forget, it's like the 7th inning, I think, maybe the 8th, and this Auburn fan. But anyway, so that was a great moment. But my point is, and coming back to Sid, as a Braves fan, and I have said this many, many times, on air, off air, to friends, family, whomever, that's the single. Now, I was alive, okay, but I do not remember Henry Aaron's 7/15. I was 3 years old when Hank hit that shot. So I know it happened while I was breathing, but I don't remember it. So for me, in my cognitive memory as a Brave fan, the Sid Bream slide remains the single best moment for me as a fan of the Atlanta Braves. Bigger than Marquise Grissom securing the 27th out in a 1-0 win in Game 6 of the World Series in 1995. It just, because, in order to win the World Series, you got to be in the World Series. Fact.
I don't think there's been a team in the history of the history of baseball that won a World Series without playing it.
No. So, in order to get there, now, again, the Braves unfortunately lost to the Toronto Blue Jays, which I don't want to talk about, but the Sid play, that was just, and again, the unlikely heroes. It wasn't, it wasn't the big stars. It was Frankie Cabrera driving in. Well, David Justice was on third. He was a big star. But Sid Bream, who, by the way, had been a Pittsburgh Pirate.
And ironically enough.
Yeah.
I love the random players that become heroes because of one play, like in the fall. Like, was it Brock Holt, who will now all be known as the only guy to ever hit for the cycle in a playoff game?
That sounds right.
Because he did that like in 2019. I remember being like, that's going to be an incredible trivia question one day.
Yeah.
Brock Holt. We will remember him for nothing else, but in an ALCS game, hit for the cycle.
Yeah.
I love players like that.
So happy anniversary, Brave fans. Happy anniversary, Sid Bream. 32 years ago today, the Braves make it back to the World Series. Good stuff. Brews Day. Tomorrow, Shane Beamer at 1 o'clock. Ryan will be here at 3. We'll do it all over again. See ya. And officially one more notice for you, and that's about our good friends at Integrated Media, whether it is amazing home theater, whether it is security, whether it's the ability to control all that from an app on your phone or tablet, or even when you want to go and play amongst the very best golf simulators on the planet. Integrated Media has you covered. Now, they got Pro Swing out in Chapin on Snapdragon Court next to Integrated Media World Headquarters. More than 200 courses on the Golf Zone simulators, which are absolutely fantastic. So you can go do that. Or you can get ready for the rest of football season, the football playoffs, basketball season, so much more. All your favorite holiday shows. Watch them all better than ever with our good friends from Integrated Media. Check out examples of all of their work on Facebook and Instagram. Just punch up Integrated Media Columbia. And then do what I've done and many, many others of your friends and neighbors. Have the best home theater installation in the city. 803-948-8327. Feel like you're there with Integrated Media.